Okay, hello, hello, hello. Okay, welcome to Tuesday session, afternoon, 1 p.m. Something I just started just recently. I was doing 1 and 8 o'clock way back. Then I changed it just to 7 o'clock. Now I'm going to be doing 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now, anybody that's in the chat, ask questions, or anybody who is viewing this right now who was here last night and has any questions about last night's lesson, 7 p.m., shoot them out now. And I did send, I guess, 100 people the PDFs for today. I did a breakdown of 3 against 4 between the bass drum and snare drum, and then between the bass drum, snare drum, and ride cymbal. So we should all have the PDFs. Okay, please get into chat and say, hello, Matt. Hello, Matt. Okay. I'm going to wait until I get somebody in the chat to start the lesson. It is 1 p.m. I've been early. It's very hot in here, number 1. Number 2, I'm just going to loosen up a little bit, I guess. But don't you just love that stick control book? I remember when I first got it, I said, what the hell is this? Right, left, then right, left, 1. What good is that going to do? That's not going to help me. Not until I realize what it is all about with the stick control book, the way George Lawrence Stone intended he intended it to be played like. The greatest book ever written, in my opinion. And I believe, and I always get in trouble when I make this next statement, and I don't really care if I get in trouble or not. I'm just going to say what I feel. I believe all the methodology books are predicated upon stick control. Simple. 4-way coordination, to me, it's a great book. It helped me out tremendously. Then I really got involved with it and looked into it, and I refer to 4-way coordination. That's by Elliot Fine and Marvin Dahlgren. Great book. I refer to that as stick control on steroids. Okay, I need somebody in the chat before I start the lesson. Ed, there you go. You must have heard me. How are you, Ed? Now, Ed, you got the PDF? I sent out, I believe, 4 sheets. And I broke down, I really didn't break down the reading. I'm assuming that you could read that. It's in 3/4. 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the. Can you read that, Ed? Now, there's all kinds of possibilities with 3 against 4, and I presented 2 of the possibilities that I've come up with. That's 3 with the bass drum, 4 on top on the snare drum. Then 3 with the ride cymbal, and 4 between the bass drum and snare drum, utilizing the sticking patterns. Okay, you could read it. It's not a problem. I thought so. But there are some guys who come to the site and they don't know how to read that figure. So I'm putting it all into workbook number 2, okay? All right, let's kind of like do what we did last night. We were playing. I know you can, Ed. I can't assume that. I just need to ask. I'm not disrespecting your abilities. I know you're a fine musician. Okay, so for the guys who can't read it, that's what the lesson is, and then we'll go further. First off, I present this in 3/4, not 3/8, because what I'm thinking when I play the 3 is an 8th note triplet. And we talked about counting the 8th note triplet in a few different ways. Whatever works for you is fine. The way I count 8th note triplets are 2 different ways. I usually count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's breaking it down for this particular kind of approach with polyrhythms. If I count 1, 2, 3, that gives me the 3. 1, the triplet. 1, 2, 3, 1. Simple. Okay, so now I want to open up the spaces between 1, 2, and 3 when I'm counting. So I have a few options here. At first, I feel that it's essential to count and to do this as slow as you possibly can so you make everything even. When you're doing polyrhythms, it's very, very common to get a little rushing or getting before the note's supposed to be there or just a little bit after. So when you count, you need to count staccato. And by staccato, what I mean is short sounding. If I'm counting 16th notes, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and if I count that staccato, I'm counting 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and it made the sound short. So if I'm going to play, for example, the 3 with my bass drum, I'm going to go 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and The 1 of the first note of that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. I'm playing the 8th note triplet with the bass drum. And I'm playing this as the quarter note, the hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Count 8th notes now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. 3. So now I want to open up the space a little bit more. So now I'm going to say, instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and, I'm going to count it as 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and that puts us right into the formula. Oh boy, I forgot to disconnect the phone. Sorry, let it ring. I ain't gonna bunga. Telemarketing. Figures nobody. Okay, so now it's essential to count the 16th notes because the formula comes into view. If I count 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and that's a total of 12 counts. Agreed? So the 1 E and is the first note of the triplet. 1 E and that's 2. The 2 E and the 2 is the second note of the triplet, and the 3 E and is the third note. So if I hit it like this, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 1, that gives me my 3. So now that gives me all those notes that are the counts in between, all right, to play the 4 equally to inside of that 3. So I divided that 1 E and that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Every fourth note or count is going to get a hit. That's the 3. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and that's the 3. Now to do the 4, if I'm counting 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and means every third note is going to get the hit. And that's going to give me my 4. So I'm going to get 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and a little up tempo a little bit. One E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 1. I was doing the 3 with the hi-hat. All right, so let's put that together. We're going to establish the 3 on the floor, 1 E and the 2 E and the 3. That's the 8th note triplet, quarter note. You hear the 3 against the 4, they're Ed. Now what I do is I run that whole thing down with the stick control book. I maintain the 3 on the floor all the time. And I'm doing the 4 on the top on the snare drum. However, what changes is the sticking pattern. If you notice, I was using line 1, 1 E and 2 and 3 E and. If I use line 2, now I'm going to start with the left hand. Ah. Line 3, 2 rights, 2 lefts. Now, the PDF does not have, okay, I know you can, it takes a long time. They're very odd and they're weird, but you actually play them somewhere inside of a tune, whether you realize it or not. But anyway, it's a great exercise, in my opinion, to develop your bass drum, you're doing full strokes with the stick control book. You're keeping contact with your limbs, man. You're developing those limbs. You're controlling them. You're telling them, yo, limb, foot, this is what you're going to do. Yo, left foot, this is what you're going to do. So now that's just one of the particular ways. And I'm not going to sit here and do 1 through 72. You have 1 through, I believe, 12 on the PDFs. Now you will have maybe 1 through 24 in the workbook. That's the first variation. Now the second variation, I believe that's on the 3rd page, I believe. I don't have it here, the 3rd variation. We changed where we were going to put the 3. All right, we're going to put the 3 here. We can put it on the ride cymbal, or we can put it on the hi-hat. 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the. Now the 4 is going to change. The feel of 4 is not going to change, but the limbs will change. And we're going to reference from the stick control book. Okay? All rights will become the bass drum. All lefts will become the snare drum. Now, I would highly recommend doing this at a very, very slow tempo. It's going to, because if you go approach this or enter this in a faster tempo, you're not going to be able to control it. You want to develop the spaces equally. That's going to give you this 3 against 4 sound. Okay, so now let's just try, all right, the 3 we established, 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and. That's the 3. That's where the 3 is going to be. Now I'm putting it on the hi-hat, but you could also put it on the ride. 1 E and the 2 E and the 3. Whichever you want. There's no right or wrong on that one. That's where the right hand belongs. But I need that one constant sound, whether it's on the ride cymbal or the hi-hat, or you could even play it on the floor tom-tom, or you can move it around. But it has to be consistent because you're establishing the polyrhythm. Now the 4 is going to follow the sequence, the sticking sequence, right, left, or right, left, left. Remember now, all the rights are going to become the bass drum. All the lefts are going to become the snare drum. So we have line number 1. Okay? And that first part, the right, left, is the grouping of 4. Oh, you know, hold on, guys. Sorry about this. It's a gig for tonight. There you go. I got to get back to me after the lesson. Okay, now, I apologize. I disconnected the phone. And it just seems every day at the same time. That phone is nonstop with telemarketers. Anyway, we're going to separate the four. Now remember, the first right, left is the grouping of four. So all the rights are becoming the bass drum. 1 E and the. The L is the snare drum. 1 E and the, 2 E and the, 3 E and the. We understand that, gentlemen? 1 E and the, 2 E and the, 3 E and the, 1 E and the, 2 E and the, 3 E and the. And we're going to plow the 3. Let's do that on the hi-hat. Ed, do you understand that? Anybody else have any questions on it that's watching it, but it's not in the chat? You guys can get in the chat, man. I mean, nobody's going to say, you're listening to somebody else do his approach to 3 against 4. I love everybody except liars and bullshitters. Okay, let's try that. We'll do 1 E and the 2. Here we go. 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E. 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and 2 and 3 E and. Here you go. Do we understand that? Yes, no? It's not easy, this stuff. It's difficult. You might see what I'm doing better if I do line 3. All right? That's the 2 rights. 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 1 E and the. So you got right, left. 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 1 E and 2 E and the 3 E and the 1. Do we understand that? Do you like this kind of stuff, or do you accept this as a challenge, dear Ed? Because it is very challenging. Wait till we play that against the jazz time. Bonga. Imagine that, 16th notes, 8th notes against the jazz time, the swing time. It's not easy. All right, so I did present, and you're the only one that's in here right now, but there's other people watching. Now, I know that you have the PDF. All right? Now, that leaves 4 more people that are watching this. And if anybody here would like the PDF, I'm going to put my email in there, and you can email me and I'll send you the PDF. But when you email me, just make a note, say you want the PDF for 3 against 4, okay? Here's my email, gentlemen. Okay? I like it as well, Ed. It's challenging. It's different than sitting there doing single strokes for 3-4 minutes. I mean, enough is enough of that. I'm taking something, and it's very tiring, by the way, Ed, because you really have to focus in on that. You take a lot of energy to focus in. There's a lot of different ways to enter this and to approach it. I mean, sometimes I get very confused because when I'm doing this, when I'm broadcasting this, I'm looking at the screen, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next, and that takes me away from what I'm doing with the polyrhythm. And that presents, it's not that I can't play it, it's just my concentration has been distracted. So what I need to do when I do present it and play it is to play it and forget about what's on the screen. Forget about what the question is until after I finish. It is very intense. you need to really, really focus in on it. And you can't lose it. You can't stop where you're at. I'm doing 1E and the 2E and the 3. Ah. And I could read down, actually, the syncopation book with my left hand over here. And we're going to be doing stuff like that. But you need to concentrate. Now, I'm saying there's other ways to enter this. For example, if I want to play just the 1E and the, okay, 2E, and it's on the and. 1E and the 2E and the 3E and. So I'm playing the first note. It's actually quarter notes. 1E and the 2E and. 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 1E and. 1E and the 2E and the 3E and. Now I'm going to try this. I'm going to play the first and third note of the triple, which gives you the shuffle. All right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Now this is the first time I'm doing this, so be patient. 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 1E and the 2E, the 3E and the. It doesn't sound like anything but you counting and notes being put in place because of the tempo. But by doing that over and over and over again, you will definitely develop the strength and the feel. Now, what we're going to do tonight, are you going to come tonight, Ed, if you can? Remember, guys, my email, mattpatella1001@gmail.com. Now, Ed, are you coming tonight? Because I think we're going to just do one more night of the polyrhythm. Okay, I'm going to do this lesson again tonight. But come tomorrow night, lessons for Wednesday and Thursday are going to be from the workbook. So pick out a pattern you would like me to work on with you. Okay, and let me know if you can right now. Are you coming tonight? All right, good. I know there's a delay when I speak, maybe a 3 or 4 second delay. Now, 3 or 4 seconds is really a long time when you're doing this. So anyway, for tomorrow, select one of the ostinato patterns and we'll dissect it and we'll work through it with the combinations. Okay? All right, gentlemen. That's about all I have for today. Just nobody's responding in the chat. I don't know. A good book for this, polyrhythms, is the stick control book like I'm presenting it right now. And I don't think, there's been a few books written, but I have them someplace. I have to take them out and I'll present them to you tonight. But anyway, I'm going to have maybe 20 different variations of the 3 against 4 on the drum set application within the workbook. I'm trying to keep the workbook down instead of like 180 pages or 175 pages or whatever the hell it was. I want to bring it down a little bit, bring the cost down a little bit. So we can have workbook number 1, 2, 3, 4. And hopefully I'll have my Beyond Control going on. Oh yeah, by the way, Ed, yesterday, to put something together on a stream with 4 different guys is extremely difficult. And I've been in touch with 3 former students of Joe Morello, and they all agreed to do this. And it's not going to happen until sometime in February, but it's going to take me that long to put it together. If you know Jeffrey Johnson, I believe he's in Virginia someplace, and he plays with some big band. I'll get all his credentials together. He's a former student of Joe's, and he also is the author of the level system. And then we have Steve Foster, who just put out a book, The Algorithms, pertain to the paradiddle. That's the sticking. And we're going to go over the 2 books. And he'll do some demonstrations. And we're going to talk, and Alan Herman as well. I forgot, please, can't forget him. He's the brains, I guess, of the organization. Alan is going to be here as well, and he's going to explain his CD out of the box. And then we're going to tell stories, and they're going to all be true, about our relationship with Joe Morello and what Joe Morello has done for each and every one of us individually. It should be very interesting. It's going to probably be an hour, almost 2 hour show. So, and I'm going to try to do door prizes, give out books and CDs, so, we'll get it together. I mean, it's going to be a nice thing. It sure is. That's the level system. I talked to him about that. He called me on the phone. He did a magnificent job on that. But see, what's difficult about reading it from a book as opposed to actually visually being explained, it's like night and day. And we all play with levels. It's a natural way. It's the laws of physics. It's not anybody's technique. It's not the Moeller system. It's not George Lawrence Stone or the Adler or anybody. You want it, with the pumping action, and they call it the whip, the arm stroke. It's a natural way. If you want to throw a ball up against the wall gently, the ball is going to come back to you gently. You viciously throw that sponge ball or rubber ball up against the wall, it's going to come back to you forcibly. What you threw, it's going to come back. That's for every action. That's the opposite reaction. That's what the level system is. But I don't sit there with a ruler and say, well, that's 18 inches, but if I hit from 17 inches, it should give me a different sound. And it should. That's the laws of physics, the laws of gravity. If I'm playing from here, it's a lighter sound. And I'm not forcing, I'm just bouncing. But I could, there's so much force you can get from there. So on and so forth. But anyway, that's what it's going to be. And it's a great book. Steve Foster is a good friend and a good drummer, very well versed. And well, we all know Alan Herman. Anyway, it's just about time for me to go. I'm going to come back tonight at 7 p.m. Oh, it's hot in here. Mercy. Oh. Okay. You have any questions on anything? Because we're going to start to do sometime next week the 5 against 4. And we're going to do that with the stick control book as well. And we're going to do the pages like 10 and 11, 3 against 4, 3 against 2. You're going to see that. Any questions, Ed? Okay, we'll see you tonight.